Don't you just love it? You get that first snowstorm of the year, you go out and get your snowblower out and want to blow your driveway out, and the thing doesn't start. That's what happened to this guy. He went to go get this thing out, and it just won't start. He told me, he says, I've tried everything. I've drained the gas out and put fresh gas in it. He says, I think it might be something to do with the primer. He even admitted to me he changed the spark plug, and he said he dropped the spark plug on it, and he says the gap's probably not right. But we're going to go and dive into this machine and see if we can get this thing up and running. This is an old Simplicity 7-horse Sno Away. I'm guessing this machine here is, without looking the date of it, it's over 20 years old. I know that. We get into, I'll see if I can find a date on it. But let's go ahead and see why this thing doesn't start. I'm going to do the very basic thing on here and make sure the guy was telling me the truth when he said he put gas in it. All right, I see gas, so that's good. Well, let's see if it will actually crank up or not. Hit the choke and throttle, hit the primer a couple times and see what we get. Nope. It doesn't want no part of it, does it? Hey, guess what, everyone? I'm using a tool right now in this video as we make it that I have never used in any of my other videos before. So, those have been following the channel for a little bit. You know what that is? Leave a comment down below if you know what it is. Well, let's just spark test on this. Now we know it's got fuel. Got my little Glow Plug 2000 in here. Okay. Yep, we got good light there. Y'all seal that right now. I don't know if you can see that. Nah, probably not. How about if I come over and get you guys? Let's all verify together that the little glow plug lights up right here. Yep, we got nice. We got lightage there. All right. Let's go ahead and pull that spark plug out and see how much damage that guy said he did on this. Let's take a look. Well, it looks all right to me. Well, okay. Maybe you can see this. Not. Looks like he bounced the electrode off a little off center. We'll go ahead and fix that and re-gap this while we're here. I'm just going to go ahead and just bend this electrode disc a little bit so it's more in line with that electrode. And there we go. That's 100% better. Take and gap this at 30 thousandths. Bolt this back in. Now we know we got spark. I'll have to pull this heater box off and go into that area of it. Okay. Start pulling this cover off. Got 2 screws here on the side. Take this loose. Don't drop it on the floor just like I did. Got a 5/16 bolt here. And there's even a screw back here on the back side. Has to come out. Guy also told me once I get this going, he says it didn't throw snow like it used to, so I'm gonna have to take and check the belt tension out on it. I asked him, I said, when's the last time the belt was changed on it, and he said a couple years ago. All right. Don't see nothing out of the abnormal there. Let's go ahead and hit this with a little bit of starting fluid and see if this thing will pop off. This will tell us if the motor will run. Okay, wants to run. Well, let's hit that again. It's trying to start. More gas. All right. So she will pop off and run. So next thing I want to do is he put gas in it, but who's to say that if the gas is any good? So I'm going to go ahead and drain the gas out of this. Put this in a can and we'll see what the gas looks like and test it. I like to check the gas nowadays because I know gas is expensive, and yeah, people, they have told me, well, I put gas in it. I put gas in it, but who's to say if the gas is any good? You know what I mean? Engines don't like water. They'll run a little bit better in a car, but these small engines, they do not like water. Also, too, pulling this line off and checking the fuel, this will also tell me if I got a fuel restriction here. That could be part of the problem. Come on now. There we go. Nope, no fuel restriction. That gas doesn't look horrible coming out of there. It looks pretty good. We'll go ahead and let this drain all out of here, be sure. That way I can take and blow the whole tank out and make sure that's all good and there's no debris in it. More than likely we've got something going on. This carburetor could be plugged up. Once this drains, we're going to drop this float bowl down next and see what that looks like. I think I'll test this fuel out before I put it back in and strain it. Now what I'm going to do is, being we're draining this gas out of here, I'm going to go through and test this gas and make sure it don't have water in it. Now, what I test gas with, this is one of these REV X, ethanol testers. You can go right on Amazon and get one of these. That's where I got this. This is really easy to use. We'll go ahead and use this right now and I'll show you how it works. I got this filled with water right now to test this. You got a water fill line that you fill up to, and then you fill the rest of the bottle up with gas to that red mark, and you shake it up for a couple minutes, and after it settles down, it tells you what the water content is. So I'll show you how this works. So let's take and pour this in here like so. Great tool here. This will tell us if there's water in the gas. It'll tell us if he uses 100% gasoline or 10% ethanol. I'm just filling this right up to that gasoline fill line, like so, as I spill some on my fingers. Once that's filled, you just take and shake it up. Let it sit for a couple minutes, we'll do that. See right here, you can see the reaction right here with the water mixing with the gas. Once it settles down, it'll tell us what we got for sure. Here we go. You can see it's starting to settle down. So you can see that line right there where it starts to separate, we're at 5%. So there's 5% ethanol in this fuel. Now if it would have been the regular 10%. So with the 5% ethanol in here, that tells me that he's buying 100% gasoline, and maybe the gas has sat around for a little bit. But yeah, this is a pretty neat tool here. Okay, so now we got those tests done. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this bowl off the carburetor just to see if there's a bunch of gook and junk inside there. Yeah, it's been a while since that carb's been gone through. You can see a little bit of junk inside there. Look how that bowl gasket is just brittle and breaking apart. So I'm going to have to do a carburetor overhaul on this. I'll go ahead and pull this carburetor off and get a little bit more into it and see what the rest of it looks like. Pull our primer line off. Sometimes these rods can be a pain to get out of here. Come on, there we go. And I always take and put the rod back in like so when I'm done, so I know what hole it was in. Look here, look how brittle that bowl gasket is. It's just falling apart. So we got the carburetor apart, and everything in here is just old. The gaskets are brittle, and the emulsion tube inside here, there's a little nub that sticks out on the end there. That is broken. I don't know if you can see it in that O-ring or not. You can see it right there where it's just broken right off on it. So we're going to be looking at a carburetor rebuild on this. Something else I don't like is that float. That's really eroded. There's a possibility that might leak. I probably got another good use float put in this. So we'll throw this in the carburetor cleaner here overnight, and I'll have to get a kit for this thing and put this thing back together. I got this Berryman Chem Dip carburetor and parts cleaner that I use for cleaning these small carburetors. This works really nice. It doesn't take up a whole lot of room in the shop. You can get these right on Amazon as well, which is cool. They're not very expensive. I'll put a link in the description of this video if you're interested in purchasing that. So now we got that carburetor all apart and sitting in the bucket soaking and cleaning. The next thing we got to do is, when I was rolling this over there, did you see where there was a combustion leak coming out of the side of that head where this has also got a blown head gasket on it? So we're going to take and pull this head off next, and we're also going to fix that problem. And of course, while we're right there, as long as we're going to pull the head, we're going to check the valve clearance on this and making sure that's where it's supposed to be, and check the valves on it, and we may even do a valve job on this. I'm going to take and pull this shroud off as well and pull that back. These HSK 70 engines weren't a bad motor at all. This is one of the better Tecumseh engines in my opinion. These were basically just a spin-off of the H70. I'm going to take and pull this throttle mechanism off the side and lay it out of the way. It's got 2 1/4-inch bolts like so. Because I'm going to replace the fuel line and the primer line that's in here. Now I'll be able to pull this shroud right out of there. You can definitely see right here where it was leaking out there. A little bit right there, a little bit of carbon I'm seeing on there. Go ahead and pull that off. All right, next thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go ahead and pull this side plate off. Check the valve clearance on this. And if the valves are too tight on this, we'll do a valve job and restore them back to OEM specifications. Intake valve starts to open. And there's, okay, now we're on our compression stroke. Check the valve clearance. So our valve specification on this engine is from 8 to 12 thousandths. We'll start on the tight side and see where we are. I don't see the valves. Don't look like they're sticking up at all, so we might be good on this. Alright, well we got 8 thousandths right there on the exhaust valve. But I can't get my 8 thousandths under the intake. Let's see what it is. See if we can get a 5 in there. We can get a 5 in there. Let's try 6. So we're at 6 thousandths on this intake valve, and we should be minimum of 8. So with that being said, I mean, it is a snug 8 on the exhaust. So we're going to go through and I'm going to do a valve job on this, being the intake valve is too tight. Get these clearances back where they should be. Those retainers are slotted, so you just got to kick them off their slots in order to get these valves out. There we go. You just got to catch them just right to get them to pop. Once you get them off there, you're good to go. Yep, sometimes there's a burr on them. You got to file off to be able to get them out so you don't damage the guide. There's that one. Pop that spring out of there. See what I mean? They got that offset groove in the retainer. You got to get danced out there to pop them loose. There we go. Popped right out of there. All right, I'll go get these all cleaned up and put them on my valve facer and do the valve job on this. That's one of the bad things about these flathead motors on these Tecumsehs or even the Briggs, is if the valve clearance is off when you check them, this is the only way to adjust them. You got to butt the valves like this on a valve grinder. And this is something too, if we ever have a blown head gasket on these flatheads, when I call the customer, I tell them, well, while we're at it right here, I'm going to check the valve clearance on it. And if the valve clearance is not in specifications, we're kind of committed into doing a valve job to be sure the job is right when it goes out the door. No, this is how this works. I just put my valve in like so, What I'm doing, I'm just butting the stems right now. Just make a couple swipes so it's square before I take and grind the face on it. This valve machine I got is an old Sioux 681. I've had this machine now for probably about 30 years and I love this machine. Now I'll go through and face the valves and do our 45-degree angle on it. You can tell by the sound of it right now, it's getting concentric all the way around, so it's round again. That was our intake valve. That one's done. Now I'll go ahead and do the exhaust valve. See, that one was off quite a bit right there. You can tell by the sound how it's hitting. And we're coming in, so it's concentric once again. And our exhaust valve is done. Now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go through and deglaze the top of this piston and clean all this up and get it ready. We'll get the valves all set and put back together. I got a head gasket ordered for this. So I'll have to get that coming in. Right now, the next step we're going to do is we're going to take and resurface this cylinder head here. All I'm going to do to surface this head is just make sure it's flat. I got a piece of 180 grit sandpaper on this. This is my cylinder head mill. So this is flat, and just put it on, work it back and forth till it cleans up, just like so. As you can see right there, it's off right here, and that's where it was leaking at on one part of the gasket, and up here you can see where it's dark. I'm working on making some jigs actually to put in this machine for, you know, doing small engine heads. I just haven't had time to finish it, but I'll be glad when I get that done because it'll definitely be a lot faster than this. But this does work. As you can see, she's starting to clean up. Now, even though I just took and ground the valves up on the valve grinding machine, still what I do is I'll go through and I lap the valves in. I just got some regular valve grinding compound. This is Permatex 837. Let's take put a little bit like so, you know, like so. Now, a lot of the stuff I use in my videos, whether it's products or tools, if you're interested in purchasing this stuff, I'll put links up in the description of this video that you can go check out. That'll take you right to it. Now let's put it on like so. Just lap these in like so. That's all you got to do for that. Then we'll do our exhaust. This little valve lapping tool that I got right here, I got this right off Amazon as well. I'll put a link up in the description if you're interested in getting a hold of some of these. They work really good for this. And our valve job is done except for assembly. See, when you got a nice seat, you should see a line going all the way around the circumference of that valve face, like so. There's our exhaust. The exhaust has a little bit wider seat on it, as you can see. Oh, the 8 goes right through. Okay, now see if I can get up to 10. We're at 10 thousandths here. Not there. Awesome, beautiful. We got a 10 here. That feels really good. Nice. All right. Valves are all adjusted. The clearance is back to OEM specifications. We're between 8 and 12 thousandths. That come out good. Now, the next part we got to do, this part's not going to be a whole lot of fun, is putting the springs back in. That's because those retainers, they can kind of fight you a little bit, snap them back in place again. So go ahead and I'll do this. All right, well, the next thing got to do is put the springs back on here. So we'll go ahead and do that, and just take and put a little bit of engine assembly lube on these valve stems so they're not going in dry. That's about all you need. That's about all you're going to get down in there through the guide. Always make sure you got the exhaust valve going where it's going, and the intake valve goes where it's going. I've seen before engines where someone tried to do a valve job and they put the valves backwards and wondered why the engine wouldn't run right. Sounds silly, but it does happen. Alright, now comes the fun part that I'm not gonna like. I have found the easiest way to do this is, you see how you got that notch? If you take, get it turned right, there we go. If I take and put it in through the back side with the notch going toward the back, then it's easier to snap it back around that keeper when it's upside down. At least for me it is. Other people might have other situations, but that's how it works for me. See how many times this can bite my finger doing this. You're getting to see firsthand here how crappy of a job this can be when you do it upside down. Kind of like removing them. You got to catch it just right to pop it back up there around that keeper groove. Just like that. That one's in. That one went pretty well. Now do the exhaust valve. Again, I'm going to turn my long slot going toward the back of the engine when I stick this back in there. Then take my straight screwdriver and pop that retainer back up over to tap it in there, like so. Okay, we're already turned. Now I gotta take my screwdriver and pull it back out so I can get the valve to drop back down. exhaust can be a little more trickier. There we go. Got it pop down. I'm gonna go through and compress it. It probably would have been easier on me if I would have took and moved that linkage out of the way, but I didn't want to do it. Oops, pop back on my retainer there. There we go. This one's definitely going to be a little more trickier than the intake valve was. Just like so. There we go. And they are back in there again, just like that. Well, the valves went back in it pretty easy. I've definitely fought them before where they were more challenging to get in. Our cylinder head here is all cleaned up and done and resurfaced. That came out really nice. I even took and polished the combustion chamber up in here a little bit. This had some sharp edges in there I wanted to remove. You know, piston's all clean and decarbonized on top, and she's looking good. So as you can see, this has turned out to be quite a bit of work on this. It hasn't been something as simple as going through rebuilding the carburetor and changing the spark plug on and giving it a whirl, has it? A lot of cases we run into that in a small engine repair. It's not always as easy. Well, at this point, unfortunately, I'm as far as I can possibly go. I had to order a head gasket for it. I had to get that new emulsion tube for it and the carb kit. And unfortunately, since Tecumseh went out of business back in 2009, it is just getting harder and harder to get parts for these machines. You know, I love these old engines. And in a lot of cases, I have to resort to getting in a boat and going out on the bay and getting some parts to coming back in to do some of these jobs. But now the million-dollar question is, how well is this engine going to run after all this work we've done with the valve job and the head gasket and doing the carburetor? Well, you're going to have to come back in the next video to check that out. I thought about it. Sure, I could wait until the parts come in and put this all and make it one video, but I thought about it. You know, that's just going to be a really long video, and, you know, I'm not going to do that to y'all out there. So we'll come back in a part 2 on this and finish this up. I hope you've all enjoyed what you saw so far in the video, and, you know, maybe have a little bit better understanding of some of the work that goes into these small engines, and we repair them and get them up and going. So if this little project here has captured y'all interest out there, hopefully I'll see you back in part 2 where we get this put back together and get it up and get it running again. And yeah, we're going to take it out and blow some snow with this guy. Have a great day, everyone, and take care.